participants in this online invited lecture series on National Education Policy 2020, Higher Education, Research and Innovation, organized by the Vidyasagar University Teachers Association, VUTA. I welcome all the distinguished faculty members, research scholars, students of Vidyasagar University and other universities and institutes in West Bengal and other states of India. A very warm welcome to this national series of lectures. And today we are very happy to have with us three very eminent academicians, distinguished researchers and scholars. First, we are very happy to introduce the presence of Professor Basudha Kamat, member draft committee for the National Education Policy 2020, former Vice Chancellor, SNDT Women's University, Mumbai, and former Joint Director, CIET NCERT. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us. We are also very happy to announce the presence of another speaker in the second session, Professor Sharup Prasad Ghosh, Director, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Institute of Asian Studies, Kolkata. And in the third and final session, we have with us Professor P. Chakraborty, Director, Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology. We are also very happy to and former Director, National Institute of Technology, Allahabad. We are very happy to have with us all these distinguished academicians. Now we are going to formally inaugurate this online invited lecture series with the chanting of a Vedic stotra, Sangachadvang, Sangvadadvang. I would request my friend Dr. Prabhas to play the stotra. Okay, after the chanting of sacred Vedic mantra, we are back to our session. I'm sorry for the technical snag. Actually, it was a kind of poor bandwidth problem, for which we are really sorry. Anyway, now I would like to request Professor Arindam Gupta, professor in the Department of Commerce, Vidyasagar University, and the president of the academic subcommittee of the Vidyasagar University Teachers Association, to kindly deliver his welcome address. Professor Gupta, please.
Namaskar. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Indranil. Uh, Honorable President, Professor Madhumangal Pal, who is in chair, our most respected speaker of today afternoon, Professor Basudha Kamat, my dear colleagues, my dear other family members of the Greater Vidyasagar University family, our research scholars, some of whom may be present now, our students, if you may be present, our officer friends, our non-teaching staff members, and other participants. It's really an honor for me that has been bestowed upon me in capacity of being the president of the VUTA Academic Subcommittee to welcome all of you today afternoon who are present now in this August gathering, members and other participants. Before any program is organized, there is a background, as you know. It's really an honor. Similarly, this program has also got a background. It was really a demand from our general members that we should organize a discourse on an issue like this, which has got much attention, not only among the academia, but also among the public at large. So as a very responsible part and parcel of the society, the teaching community, who are also directly affected with this policy, and our dear students who are also greatly involved as an outcome of this policy, avoid this kind of discourse among the public at although large. As we know that so in a democratic society there may be responsible for part and parcel some policy and against society, some policy. The teaching community, it's always who are also the association should leave on this policy, no matter and our there may be differences of opinion. But to a large extent, till now, whatever discourses I have personally come across, I have seen that almost an unanimity has been arrived among the people and among the critics that this policy will go a very long way to deliver some good outcomes for our education system in future. As we know, if we try to recall the days of the British period, when in 1835 there was a law in the British Parliament by Lord Macaulay, who proposed that law, that English Language Act, which was meant for the natives, the so-called natives, the Indians, by which term they used to be called by the British, to make them educated who will be suitable for the jobs of different offices of the then East India Company. And afterwards, the Charles-Wood Commission came into being at the time of Lord Dalhousie, which was in one sense the first formal commission, education commission, although that was during the pre-independence period. And post-independence, we could identify the famous Indian Education Commission, which was later named as Kothari Commission, which was appointed during the tenure of Mrs. Indira Gandhi being the Prime Minister of the country. It was appointed in 1964. It submitted its report in 1966. And later, during Sri Rajiv Gandhi's tenure, another commission was also uh, formed and which submitted its report in 1986. That report was slightly revised during Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao's tenure, slightly revised. So in that sense, in 1992, it was revised. So in that sense, if we count from 1986, so it is almost 34 years after that, we got a policy which we think that would have been overdue by this time. And just as a factual reconnection with what happened before it, that in January 2015, the then Cabinet Secretary, T.S.R. Subramanian, was given charge to frame an education policy. And that Subramanian committee issued a report to the government in June 2017. But somehow that report was not proceeded with. Later, we all know that under the able leadership of Professor K. Kusturi Rangan, the former chairman of ISRO, this draft Committee for New Education Policy came into being, of which our first speaker, Professor Vasudha Kamath, was a member, along with 7 other members. She was also a member. So we are really fortunate to have Professor Kamath today afternoon in this program, because she was one of the makers of this draft education policy. Although, in my initial telephone with her, she has already told that the draft committee proposal, which was about 484 pages, is not this one which the government placed in 29 July 2020 through its cabinet. It is roughly a 60-page document, so it's much more handy. But yet, Professor Kamath is the right person today afternoon to give her valuable comments. Although we understand that this national education policy has a very gigantic size, it's very difficult for a speaker to cover up all the issues in 45 minutes time. So we have kept the theme a little focused with the higher education, research and innovation part. Still, it will be a very voluminous exercise for any speaker to cover all the aspects. So I don't think that I should continue anymore. So we have a plan organizationally to organize 1 or 2 more such events. This event is mainly to be addressed by the policymakers in one sense, Professor Vasudha Kamath herself. Apart from that, as Professor Indranil has already introduced the speakers from whom you have guessed that they are all policymakers in one sense. And we have also decided their fields, one from science and technology, another from social science background. So another message I would like to give, that our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Ranjan Chakraborty, due to some of his busy preoccupation, could not make himself available today afternoon, but he has wished our event a grand success. So we also acknowledge our gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir. So with this, I welcome all of you once again today to this August gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Gupta, for your welcome address. I would now like to invite Professor Madhu Mangal Pal, Professor in the Department of Applied Mathematics, Vidyasagar University, and the President of Vidyasagar University Teachers Association, to deliver the presidential address. Professor Pal, please.
Thank you, Indranil. Good afternoon, honorable speakers, Professor Vasudha Kamath, Professor Swarup Prasad Ghosh, Professor P. Chakraborty, all the members of VUTA, dear colleagues, participants, students, research scholars,
to deliver the
and ladies
presidential
and gentlemen.
address. Professor Pal, please.
The Vidyasagar University Teachers Association is VUTA, is mainly an organization for the teachers for taking care about the different problems or issues of the teachers as well as the university. Apart from that, we also doing some another educational activities like organization of seminars, conferences, invited lectures, etc. for discussing burning issues of the states and the country. Also, we are doing some social activities. During COVID-19 pandemic situation, we have distributed food among the poor people nearby our university campus. The National Educational Policy 2020 is a burning issue, of course, for the academicians and also for others. Obviously, NEP has many issues which are supported by most of the academicians, politicians, the rules makers, basically there, and other people knowingly or unknowingly. On the other hand, some people, mostly the politicians and few academicians, are opposed many issues of NEP, even knowingly or unknowingly. Without any their complete knowledge about the NEP, they are opposed. They are saying something, this is the not a good policy, etc. like that. So today we'll learn about the issues related to higher education. Mainly, we are servicing in higher education institute. So our concentration is about the higher education policy of our country in a more specific way, because one of the speakers, Professor Kamath, is a member of the draft committee. Already Professor Gupta mentioned. She knows the motivation of each and every item of the policy. But at present, the main challenge of our country is the implementation of the rules and regulation. This is the big issues at present. Rules are framed by the UGC, MHRD, and the governments with proper way by framing an appropriate committee like that. But the authorities, it may be the college authority, it may be the university authority, or the state government or the central government, are not maintaining properly. They are diverting from the rules or violating sometimes. So we have to fight against these corruptions also. This is a big issue. Apart from the implementation, this is another issue. And implementation is a big issue of our country. Hope this lecture series will enrich all of us and will be successful with your cooperations. I thank all the participants, member of VUTA, members of academic subcommittee of VUTA, particularly Professor Arindam Gupta for taking leading role to organize this program. So I thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pal, for your presidential speech. And thank you for outlining the various activities of VUTA, University Teachers Association, the conducting of webinars past, and also for undertaking many charitable work during the lockdown period and helping out the people in distress. So VUTA has definitely played a pioneering role, an exemplary role in serving the community, in serving the society. So the teachers have also played the role of, social servants, and it has been an exemplary, role that VUTA has performed. So all of us are proud of our Teachers Association. And with these words, we conclude our inaugural session. And we will now move on to the first lecture session. And this lecture session will be compared by our esteemed colleague, Dr. Abhijit Sinha, faculty member in the Department of Commerce, Vidyasagar University. I would request Dr. Sinha to take over. Dr. Sinha, please.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Indranil Acharya. A very good afternoon to one and all present in this program. I heartily welcome you all to the first session of this invited lecture series, which is being organized on a very relevant topic on focusing on the higher education aspect of the National Education Policy of 2020, which has been very aptly chosen because it's been only 3-4 months that the policy had been passed. And looking into the contents of the policy, it's been believed that it basically outlines the country's vision of a new education system, and it aims to transform the system of education in the country. And for with this with this background, we are very pleased to have with us a very senior academician come administrator, Professor Vasudha Kamath, who has been the member of the National Education Policy Draft Committee and has been a former Vice Chancellor of SNDT Women's University and former Joint Director of the Central Institute of Educational Technology, which is a nodal agency that works under the NCERT, would be acting as the speaker for this session. So I, as a member of the Teachers Association of Vidyasagar University, heartily welcome you, ma'am, to this program, and especially to this first session of the invited lecture series. And I'm also very honored to have with us my dear colleague, my dear senior colleague from the Department of English, Dr. Professor Joyjit Ghosh, who would be chairing this session and giving his insights and thoughts about the national education policy. I, as a member, I again heartily welcome Professor Joyjit Ghosh to this program, to this session, and thank him for taking the charge of accepting to chair this session. But before I hand over the charge, I take the opportunity to give a brief profile about the caliber of a person like Professor Vasudha Kamath, with we think everybody wants to know. As I've already said, she has been a member of the National Education Policy Draft Committee and has been a former Vice Chancellor of the Women's University and a former Joint Director. In fact, she has many accomplishments and accolades to her name during her more than 40 years of teaching and research in higher education. Professor Vasudha Kamath is well known for a significant contribution to the field of educational technology and ICT for education. As a Vice Chancellor of the Women's University, she had brought about many innovative ideas, mainly focusing on
you don't need to read everything. That is
the use of ICT and ICT infrastructure for the purpose of higher education and for improving the overall learning environment. She has conducted several research studies for reputed institutes like ISRO, United Nations Development Programme, World Bank, UNICEF, MHRD of the Government of India. She has been visiting various countries in different capacities as an expert. In fact, I really am honored as a faculty member and as a participant to have such a person of eminence amongst us who has really agreed to give us further insights on the National Education Policy 2020. I heartily welcome you, ma'am, to this program. And we are really honored to have you with us for this first session. With these few words, may I now request our chairman, sir, Professor Joyjit Ghosh, to take further the proceedings of this session, please. Professor Joyjit Ghosh.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha, for comparing this session. And as you see, we are all hard pressed for time. So without wasting a second, of course, I would request Professor Vasudha Kamath to kindly enlighten us about this national education policy, which is a thrust area of the webinar today. So, Madam, please.
Thank you, Professor Ghosh. Today's session president, Professor Ghosh, President of Vidyasagar University Teachers Association, Professor Madhumangal, Dr. Professor Arindam Gupta ji, all distinguished faculty members and members of Teachers Association and participants. I'm really very happy to be with you today and share some of my thoughts from the policy document as well as what I feel we should do to take the policy ahead. Uh, the next two speakers, I think they are not here, but I still welcome them, Professor Sarup Ghosh and Professor Chakravarti. I would have loved to listen to them, but I have other meetings. So, but it's really great to see their names to be on the same panel. I must congratulate the association. Congratulate for the purpose because generally the associations are for fighting for the rights. They should because they are established for that. But here I see an academic program organized of a great immense value. And I'm sure that such programs have been organized by Vidyasagar University Teachers Association. That is really a great contribution. Let's make two things clear here. The policy draft was prepared by Kasturi Rangan committee and only 8 of us were there. Dr. Kasturi Rangan was chairman and 7 of us members. But this policy document, I mean the 484-page draft is not only contribution of 8 of us. We met several people. You mentioned about TSR committee report. That was not a policy, but it was a report. And then many documents which MHRD, that time MHRD, now MOE, they shared with us. So they were shared, we spoke to people, we had discussion with many ministries, many associations, and many contributed very significantly. And most of that had place in this. Second thing I want to make clear is policy was, a draft was at 484 pages because every point was explained background with lot of research into it, and so that anyone reading it would have a background also and why it is the rationale for it. Now, generally people won't read 484 pages if it is a policy. Now the policy document is only 66 pages, actual is only 60. This is culled out of the draft. So it is not different from the draft. It is only two major suggestions which were given in the draft were not accepted, but otherwise 99.99% everything is in the policy. All points are from the draft. So I owe that. Whatever I am saying today is from the draft of which I was a member. I will present, and I am very happy that it's not only the higher education which you are interested, but also research and innovation into it. So I will spend some time on that too. So now it is nearly 4 and I have time till 4:30 or 4:40. Let's see. I will make a presentation, but I will switch off my video. I will put it over here. I will put a window where it disappears.
Madam, you are muted. Madam, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, can you see my
Yes, you
window?
can see, you can see, you can see.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with the vision. Vision of this policy is to provide high quality education to all. It's not to a separate class or anybody. Everybody, whoever is interested in education, this policy says that the nation should provide them high quality education. Vision is to develop a deep sense of respect towards fundamental rights, duties, and constitutional values. It's not only rights. We also must understand our duties and perform those. So policy makes you aware about that. It also says to instill skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. All these 21st century learners are, in the real sense of the term, global citizens. But values about global citizens should be inculcated in those. This policy has 5 foundations: one, access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. Accountability of all stakeholders. It has given a lot of key principles. I have shared some here. Emphasis on conceptual understanding, critical thinking, and creativity to encourage logical decision making and innovation. It's not only remembering and memory, but it's talking about conceptual understanding as well as critical thinking, fostering the unique capabilities of each student. Generally, the teachers tend to go to class and address the average student in the class who is not there. Every student is a unique individual. He or she has unique capabilities. The policy says you must find out pedagogies which would help you to foster unique capabilities of each student. Outstanding research as a core requisite for outstanding education and development. Continuous review. Because if you reach after 10 years, if you see, look back, and then you find that we got a wrong address, we have reached the wrong address. That should not happen. So continuous review at various steps is suggested. Community participation and extensive use of technology. As said, it talks about school education. Satisfying lives and work roles and enable economic independence. It's also very important that once they are graduated or postgraduate degrees they have taken, then they must get proper employment. We should not be reading news like 80% of our engineers are non-employable, 90% of our management trainees, management graduates are non-employable. That should not happen. Our higher education should be such that economic independence can be one of the objectives. Continuously, this policy talks about multidisciplinary higher education institutions. So what is that? How does it define it? So it talks about a university like Vidyasagar University, and it talks about autonomous degree granting college. There is nothing, the third category, only 2. So university offers high quality teaching, research and community engagement, and mostly they offer undergraduate and graduate programs, whereas autonomous degree granting colleges would concentrate more on undergraduate degrees. It talks about 2 types, universities and autonomous colleges. So though degrees, it says, policy says there can be 2 different types. One is research intensive university and other is teaching intensive university. But there is no wall in between. You must be observing that. Professor Gupta, my slide is visual. You are able to see,
Yes,
right?
yes, madam.
Yes, thank you. So there is no wall in between. So today a teaching intensive university wants to become research intensive. It can strive for that and become. Third broad base is autonomous degree granting colleges. Today we have autonomous colleges, but they are not degree granting. This policy is suggesting that the colleges, autonomous colleges, should slowly become degree granting colleges. Policy says that it would, the government should establish multidisciplinary education and research universities, world class, like IITs, NITs, IIMs. So in every district or at least near to that district. And underserved region should be first focused. So by 2030, there would be at least one large multidisciplinary HAI in or near every district. What is large? Large means student enrollment must be more than 3,000. We have universities where on campus we have 10,000, 20,000, 25,000 students, but policy defines it from 3,000 students. By 2040, today in 2020, this policy has been accepted by the cabinet, approved by the cabinet. Now, within next 20 years, it should be very well established, and all these suggestions in the policy should become the reality. Now, if you see that today, this Aisha report, All India Survey of Higher Education, that tells us we have 38,000 colleges, but only 1,536 colleges, that is 4%, they have student strength of more than 3,000. Very pathetic. We have many colleges which have 50 students, 100 students, less than 500 students are 65%. Another 1,500 colleges have students between 2,000 and 3,000. So that you can see how we have to take a stride. Policy talks about student enrollment and GER, gross enrollment ratio. That means a percentage of students of age 19 to 24 who should be in higher education. So how much percentage is there in today's higher education system? We have only 26.3. Now policy says by within next 15 years, it should be 50%. Now how it will increase? So vocational education, open distance learning mode also should be considered, and present HEIs, they should be expanded. We need not, I mean personally I feel apart from MERUs, we need not establish more colleges and universities. We have enough universities, more than 900, and enough colleges which need to be strengthened further. There are many things suggested, but I come to the area where all of us, we are all faculty members in the university, so we are more concerned about multidisciplinary education, because in the introduction it was said that there would be many acts, many rules will be formed. So acts will be formed by parliament, central government, state government, they will do that much. But it will take some time. Frameworks will be prepared. But now what we can do immediately as a university? So we should study that part and see how we can contribute. We can start implementing it in its spirit, not only meaning, but in spirit, but this policy suggested. Now it talks about quality education. So I interpret that as quality learning, not only quality teaching, because teaching is teacher determined, whereas if we concentrate more on learning, the whole approach changes. So multidisciplinary education would have 4 aspects: curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and student support. We'll see that one by one. What are the goals of multidisciplinary education? To develop all aspects and capabilities of learners. What happens is cognitive development, we all know. So higher education generally thinks about development of cognitive aspects. And we say it is the responsibility of schools to develop other aspects like emotional aspect, physiological aspect. But it is not so. Even in higher education, we should think about development from all 3 domains. To make education more well-rounded, useful, and fulfilling to the learner, it's not to create walls in between and only become specialized, over-specialized person. So without and not giving any attention to anything in life, it's not really required. A person must develop his or her own personality to the fullest, and it's not only cognitive development. Emotional development is similarly important, and psychosocial, physiological, these developments are also important. Education must build character. It must enable learners to be ethical. Somebody referred to things happening at various levels. So ethical every person, if really thinks about being ethical, many issues and problems will be solved. Rational, compassionate, and caring. Education must prepare learners for gainful and fulfilling employment, which we have seen. If we look at the curriculum, the policy suggests there should not be hard separation between arts and science, between curricular and extracurricular and co-curricular activities. There is nothing, it categorically says there is nothing like co-curricular activities, there is nothing like extracurricular activities. Think about all activities as curricular activities between vocational and academic streams. What we do, we say that this is our BSc physics, and whatever vocational education, that is outside. That is a second-grade citizen. Now, policy gives very much importance to vocational education. And right from school education, from 6th standard, it says you introduce vocational education, not vocational education, but introduce vocations in the society to them. And from secondary education, 9 to 12, it's a 4-year, now change the structure of education, school education. So 9 to 12 is secondary. So in secondary education, the student should be introduced and should master at least one vocational skill. Vocational skill is not second-grade citizenship. We all must understand, because you ask any student who graduated, what you can do? He or she says, I cannot do anything, I can only write papers. That doesn't help them to live holistically their life. But we create walls in between. So this policy says curriculum should be multidisciplinary. The student may be doing physics, BSc in physics, but physics and maths, that's all. No third subject. But if he or she wants to learn music, wants to learn dance, classical dance, wants to learn special education areas, what is mental retardation, what is learning disability, we should provide that facility to the student. We would love to know, one of the members of this Kasturi Rangan committee was Dr. Professor Manjul Bhargav. He is a field awardee. It's like a Nobel Award in mathematics. But he is expert in tabla. He's a great mathematician, but he is also great in playing tabla. He says, whenever I have a problem in mathematics, I start playing tabla. And slowly I get engrossed, and then I find a solution and I go back to my mathematics. It happens. It happens with many of us. Some of us play basri and play sitar, and that really fulfills the life mission, supports life mission. So policy says, don't only concentrate on the major subject. There can be minor subject, there can be many other subjects. It is a diversion, but I would like to share with you. Dr. Kasturi Rangan used to take us to visit us many institutions. And because most of the meetings were held in Bangalore, once he took us to IISc, Indian Institute of Science, which is #1 in our country in academics. They run a BSc program. MSc, PhD are there, but the BSc program. So one of their BSc programs is taught through arts. Yes, I said it right. The science program is taught through arts. Arts means design, drawing, painting, dance, music. So science, chemistry is taught through this. We were all surprised how it is taught. So whole day we were there, we understood we are there, but the BSc program. And so one of the BSc program is taught. We don't want to be taught science through science. This is great. So it is difficult for us even to understand. So what policy says, please read the draft, 484 pages, it explains all these things. So curriculum should be multidisciplinary and there should not be hard separation. It talks about pedagogy. Pedagogy, generally in Indian situation, pedagogy is teacher-centric. Teacher goes to class and teacher talks whole day. And at the end of the day, teacher says, oh, I have a very, I'm tired. But actually nobody tells you to talk. Let the students talk. It should be enjoyable, it should be flexible. We are coming back to the pedagogy after some time, but then the pedagogy should create learning environments which are engaging and supportive. Nobody likes to only listen and not take part in the whole process of learning. And our students from grade 1 to PhD, they only listen. We don't allow them to do anything else in the class, because our sitting arrangement is also so that we don't see faces of each other, we only see face of teacher. So that also needs to create learning environments, classroom environment should nobody likes to only listen, enjoy and not take part in the whole process of learning. Policy says the assessment, today's assessment is mostly based on memorization, which should be changed. We should move away from memorization. We should introduce continuous formative assessment. That is assessment for learning, not of learning. Of learning we do, that is at the end of the semester, but we should start doing formative assessment, continuous comprehensive assessment. So our curriculum should be outcome based. I'll come to it again a little later, but outcome based approach if we have, so we are sure what are the outcomes and what the students will achieve, so that it is easier for us to assess that. Student support policy talks about framework, National Higher Education Qualification Framework, and the newly suggested form GEC should develop that, where graduate attributes, where outcomes, what achievement the student should do should be framed. We already have National Skills Qualification Framework for vocational, and these two frameworks should be in sync with each other. Choice-based credit system, we all know CBCS, but we have made fun of it. It is not used in real sense of the term. I'll share with you, I was with SNDT Women's University. It's the first women's university, not only in India, but Southeast Asia. And it was established in 1916. We celebrated 100 years in 2016. We have on campus a pharmacy college, engineering college, special education department, home science college, computer science department, education technology department on campus. So a student doing computer application, MCA, wants to learn about what is mental retardation, what is learning disability, she can take a course from special education department. A special education department student doing MSc, she can learn instructional design from Department of Education Technology. And now you know that we have online courses on Swayam. So if you cannot provide on campus, they can be provided through Swayam. Your teachers can develop those courses and offer. Effective pedagogical practices, we have already said. So it talks about providing autonomy to teachers, and that is how they can design their curriculum, they can create their learning environment, they can provide support to students, and they can also assess properly. Today what is happening? The university prepares curriculum, university tells the teachers how to do that and sends it to affiliated colleges. So all affiliated college faculty members cannot be involved in developing curriculum, cannot be involved in assessing. So everything is done by university, and our teachers are not, though they are able, they have the potential, but they are not allowed to do that. Policy says give this autonomy to the faculty members and to the institutions. It says about institutional development plan, each university, each autonomous college, each college should develop institutional development plan, and in this plan, academic plan should be incorporated. Should provide counseling, career counseling, professional counseling to students. It also talks about online learning, open distance learning, not only to increase access, but also to provide quality education to students who cannot come to college. That multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary nature gets lost. Here, the NRF will be established, and it will be established as a separate body. If you see that how much expenditure other countries are doing on research and development, Israel is doing 4.9, South Korea 4.8, Switzerland 3.4, Sweden 3.3, Japan 3.2, and what India is doing, the NRA expenditure will be established, expenditure and GDP is it will be established as a separate body. This is 2018 data. That how much expenditure other countries are doing on research and policy Israel is doing 4, has suggested how this can be done. South Korea 4.8, Switzerland 3.4. So this NRF will be set up 3.3, Japan 3.2, and what India is doing of the NRF will not be under government. Separate GDP is, it will be established, which will have rotating board of governance. It will fund research in all disciplines, building research capacity at academic institutions across the country and create linkages between this industry. You have not that we will satisfy Cornell University in SEED, UK, and World Intellectual Property Organization. They analyze the inputs from various countries and they give the ranking. There's an index, Global Innovation Index. You will be happily surprised. In 2015, our rank was 81. And now in 2020, we are at 48. So we have substantially improved, but we are not in the first 10. We are 136 crore people, and still, if you talk about innovation, and we are really within 50 years, about 131 countries have. But you should read this report of India Innovation Index 2019. It is published by Niti Aayog. I have given here, see, this index is found with 80 indicators and 7 pillars: institutions, human capital and research, infrastructure, market sophistication, business sophistication, knowledge and technology outputs, and creative outputs. We are first in ICT service exports, not a surprise. We are third in domestic market sale. But graduates in science and engineering, we are 12th. So that should be improved, because we have also signed various pacts for this. You must have heard about PISA. PISA is Program for International Student Assessment. This assessment is done of 15-year students, not in college. But we participated in this in 2009. There were 73 countries and our rank was 72. So what we did, we said we will not go for PISA. But is that the right way? Now, this present government has decided to go for PISA in 2020, which is conducted every 3 years. So now it will be conducted in 2021. So now in 2020, they are conducting Indian tests for PISA so that students get acclimatized. They know, they don't ask questions based on memory. They are asking questions on application, analysis, synthesis, creating something new, where our students are not trained at all. Not only school, but even in higher education. Ministry of Education has created an innovation cell. You must be knowing about it. I am only reiterating so that you can participate in various aspects of it. Science, technology, and innovation. This is an innovation cell, which really organizes several programs. One of that is Smart India Hackathon. You must be knowing about it. So if you see that hackathon, it is now reaching 10 lakh students, 7,000 institutions, 256 organizations. Idea solution, what they do, they ask many ministries to come out with their problems. And students in teams, not individual. And one of that members should be a woman, a girl. It's a necessary thing. So they come out with solutions for these problems. See, 5,635 ideas were selected because they were solutions, and nearly 2,000 problem statements. If you are not participating, I do not know if you participate. It is work, because I have seen how students really work for 72 hours at a stretch. Our students, young generation, has the potential. Please believe in their potential, and they can find out a solution, but we don't encourage them to go to society and understand what are the societal problems, community problems, how to analyze those, how to find out solutions for those. There is another area, it is Atal ranking of institutions. You must be knowing about it. This talks about innovation achievements, and there are 7 parameters under which they judge the universities and colleges in various areas, women's universities, women's colleges, also engineering. Not participated in it, you may, because if you are specifically interested in innovation, I'm sure your university must be participating in this. You also must be knowing about this new policy coming in, science, technology and innovation policy. This is the 5th one, and up to 2020, I think the process will go on, and by November end or December first week for the first draft will come. They are very categorically saying that inclusiveness, evidence informed, expert driven, decentralized and bottom up approach for this policy. So it's very interesting, and you can participate in this by going to the website. Let me spend some time, it's 10 minutes, on making it happen at our university level. So many things are happening at our in the country. But as you rightly said, many decisions will be done to establish university institutions like Translation Indian Translation Institute, whatever. So these decisions will be, some your university act may change, but many things which we can do at the university level, I thought of presenting before you because you are interested in innovation. Again, going back to this quality, we can definitely change our curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and provide quality student support. We have seen this multidisciplinary curriculum, innovative pedagogy, outcome-based assessment. Now, if you see curriculum, there are many different types of curricula: subject-centered design, learner-centered design, competency-based design, and you can also use project-based learning, problem-based learning, case-based learning. What happens, we generally go only for subject-centered design. That means we have subjects, specific subjects. Even under chemistry, we will have inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, physical chemistry, whatever. So we are talking about subjects. We are not talking about competencies. And that's why we only learn chemistry and we come out with a degree. This should change. Now I am showing you your curriculum, one of the curriculum. There are no objectives written. There are no outcomes written. Because it is subject-centered design, you have given subjects, topics. See, Unit 1 now in semester 1, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. So this is the syllabus. The curriculum is more comprehensive. It talks about overall aim of, say, MSc or BSc or whatever. Then in that curriculum, we should have the competencies, what the student will be able to achieve if he or she gets BSc degree in physics, or BSc degree or MSc degree or PhD. Somewhere we must do that. If you can see this now, this is I'm not showing you our education technology curriculum, I'm showing you USA. So our curriculum is also like this. You should write the competencies. What competencies? Areas. Now communication. In communication, what the student will be able to do? Communicate effectively in written, oral and visual formats. Practice active listening. In analysis, what he or she would do? Use a variety of analysis practices such as performance system analysis, needs assessment, goal, task, learner, context analysis. So now if you can see, curriculum design is not putting subjects and topics together. No. What are the competencies or outcomes this learner will achieve after studying with you for 3 years, or the policy is suggesting 4 years, what you will. This you can do at your level. Curriculum design you can start, because now policy is saying the student may do masters, they can take major, say physics, but he or she can, of course they will study mathematics for physics, but he or she can also study music, can study instructional system, can study many other things. And these things can also be given, but you should decide how many credits. If undergraduate program is 140 credits, 80 credits should not be all these, because major is in physics. So you decide major should be 80 credits in 3 years. And then other subjects there should be minor, and there should be vocational area can be introduced. Many things can be introduced on campus or online or open and distance learning mode. We have several alternatives which should be explored now. Students will not come to university for all the time. Please remember this. Now you must have read about the fourth industrial revolution. And fourth industrial revolution for education, people are saying we are still in second industrial revolution. Education people are still by thought in second industrial revolution, which should be changed. So you can develop your curriculum in your university, which would be more open. More open. Students should be allowed to take different courses. Now, this policy also suggests about academic bank of credits. Student dropping out of first year should get diploma or certificate, dropping out of second year with passing, but then all 80 credits are lost. So you give a diploma to that. But suddenly you cannot give a diploma unless you think about it. So the diploma should be planned in such a way if the student drops out after 2 years, he or she can be given a diploma in something. So in education technology, when we offer masters in e-learning, if the student drops out after first semester, the certificate is given in instructor-led training. See, if she drops out after 2 semesters, we give a PG diploma in instructional system design. Something like that needs to be planned. I'm talking about pedagogy. See, this picture is our picture. Our students sit like this. One, now it should be like this. Students should be allowed to work together in groups, in pairs. Now, if you can change the furniture, nothing like it. But if you cannot change furniture, they can work. But do not stand before them and talk. It should be, there should be a flexibility, discussion based, learner centered. All these terms must be fully understood by our faculty members, by the curriculum designers, by the implementers of the curriculum. This you can do that. So different pedagogy should be explored and used. ICT should be used because where students can work in groups, even at home, even outside the class, and they do. We in SNDT use a lot of technology, especially at master's program, which can be influenced. In assessment, as I said, variety of tools can be used. We generally go for semester end written test or lab test. That's all. So many tools can be used like concept map. You see the students groups have developed the concept maps here. Mind maps can be used. The rubrics can be used for assessing any activity the student has done, or portfolios can be used because which gives you a comprehensive picture of the student's work. If you will, I will just show you one. So this is a portfolio developed by a master student. She's talking about me, about my theme, my philosophy, and curriculum. So if you click on her work, so in 2 years, whatever work she has done, you can go there and click on it and you see that. So students are taking a lot of pride in showing you what they are able to do. So I'm suggesting that at 4 levels, you can make changes in the university, and innovation doesn't come by listening to teachers. No, continuous listening for 3 years to only two teachers will not help students bring out innovation. For innovation, you have to create an environment which is through pedagogy, through assessment, through your curriculum. So all these things you need to change at your university. You can start today also. You need not wait for the central government and state government to make changes, because universities are autonomous and they can make these changes. Thank you so much for your patient listening, and I would be very happy and I would be with you if you are planning to do changes at this level. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You have about so many important points regarding this national education policy. You have spelled out the ideas of the foundation of NEP. You have talked a lot about the objectives of national education policy, particularly when it takes care of the conceptual understanding and critical thinking, analysis. But not only that, you rightly talked about the community participation. You talked about the even the commitment to society, because in no way we can forget the societal bonds. Uh, you of course multidisciplinary education under four categories, particularly curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and student support. You talked in detail about that. And one very important point, I believe that it has illumined all of us, that is, teaching and learning is not simply meant for the cognitive development, but also for the emotional development. We often talk about the all-round development, but this time, of course, you have spelled out very clearly that there should be the emotional development side by side the cognitive development indeed. Uh, Another very interesting point, rather series of points that you talked about, that is, there should be no iron curtain between the major and the minor, and sometimes we look down upon the education that is vocational, but we should shun that kind of attitude, because the academic and the vocational, there should be no binary between these two streams indeed. Yes. And at every point you laid emphasis upon the learner centered education. uh, you talked also about the higher education governance regulation, NRF. You'd also talked about the ARIIA, auto ranking of institutions, etc., etc. And I'm because I'm a student of literature, I'm very happy to know that translation is given a very important space in this policy. I'm very elated to know indeed. And that is, the competences and outcome were now properly taken care of in curriculum, because only subject-centered curriculum won't serve our purpose. Yes, we do agree with you very well. And finally, as you talked about, the right sort of environment should be built up at the university or at the autonomous college level for the right sort of education, because we shouldn't prescribe rules. We have to build up the environment, the right sort of environment. Only one point, madam, that you talked about, I don't understand properly, because that is, you talked about the research intensive university and the teaching intensive university. So I believe that if you kindly, we have of course gathered questions in the chat box, of course help you, I mean, in reading the questions. And of course we're all hard pressed for time, but at least some of the questions I believe you would find time to answer. But would you please clarify at least this point on my part, this research intensive and the teaching intensive university? So what is the logic behind it? And if you kindly illumine this point at least, ma'am.
Universities generally are expected to teach as well as do research.
Okay.
But there are, it was visualized that we can have research intensive universities which are more into research. They would do teaching. Not that they will not do teaching, they will do teaching, but more emphasis will be on research. What happens with our university now, for example, when I was assistant professor, I was having 16 hours per teaching. So 16 hours of teaching per week, that means another 60 hours of preparation. So where is the time for research? So if it is research intensive, the teaching will be less and research will be more. Whereas if it is teaching intensive, research will be less, and not that they should not do research, they should, but more emphasis will be on teaching. But as I said, there is no wall in between. Research intensive university can become teaching intensive tomorrow, and teaching intensive can become research intensive as well.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would request Dr. Sinha, the compeer, a person to please come forward and, of course, address some of the questions
Right.
in chat
Dr.
box.
Right.
Dr. Sinha,
Yeah.
we can take up one question, please, because time.
Okay. Firstly, I would like to thank Madam for pointing out so lucidly the salient features of the national education policy. But before we actually come to the end of the session, we have a few questions in the chat box. And as asked by Professor Arindo Gupta, we can take only one question. So there is a question from Azagaya R. Ramachandran K, who has a question directly to you. His question is, how can we equate curriculum-based pedagogy and learners-based pedagogy? Madam, please. How can we equate curriculum-based pedagogy and learners-based pedagogy?
Curriculum-based pedagogy is not there. Curriculum is transacted through pedagogy. Pedagogy means what? It is teaching, learning strategies, a lot of learning methods. So that is pedagogy. So it either it is teacher-centered, or it is individual learner-centered, or it can be a group-centered. What happens in our Indian situation, it is teacher-centered. Because teacher talks in class, teacher uses PowerPoint presentation, teacher shows video, teacher asks questions. If teacher asks questions, students are supposed to answer. If students start asking questions, teachers generally say, please keep quiet, let me complete my lecture because I have the notes. I have to complete that. This should change. This should flip learning, for example. Flip learning says whatever you want to talk. Now, for example, this presentation would have been given to you at home. We just go through that and we come here and for 1 hour we discuss. That should be the approach in class. What happens? We keep on giving information. That is the industrial era where we wanted everyone to be the same. Now we don't want that. The information is available on Google or many other tools, many other platforms. Why should we start giving information? Our outcome should be what to do with that information, how to create something new, how to analyze. Can our student evaluate a given project? They cannot, because, and of course, even if you give criteria, it will be easier. But if you tell them you have your own criteria and evaluate this project, they cannot, because they are not trained that way. Not that they don't have potential, they do have. So I am suggesting that our pedagogy should be learner-centered. If someone comes to my class, he or she should not observe me talking. They should observe my learners talking to each other, discussing, uploading. You use ICT, you use learning management system where they can upload what they have discussed. People can see who has done what. Many ICT tools which are for cooperative and collaborative learning, a teacher can see who is contributing what. So in a group, if 4 students are there, you need not give equal scores to each one. You can see who has contributed. Now, teachers, our faculty members need training using ICT constructively. Generally, when I was interviewing teachers for appointment in our university, I asked, have you used ICT? They said, yes, we use PowerPoint. Now throw away PowerPoint. PowerPoint is not ICT. There is only one small, go beyond that. I don't know whether you use learning management system. We train people in using learning management system, but teachers only are trained to put their resources there. But learning management systems can do much more, much more. Generally think about collaborative and cooperative learning. That pedagogy is learner-centered. That pedagogy is group-centered. There is nothing like curriculum-centered. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, for providing such an exhaustive answer to the question. And thank you, everybody. As already conveyed to me by Professor Arindam Gupta, we are not in a position to take any more questions.
Yes.
So with permission from the chair, Professor Joyjit Ghosh, may I make an announcement? Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Thank you from my part. Thank you from the part of VUTA. So our session 1 comes to a close. Thank you, madam, for giving your time. Thank you, madam. So thank you, everybody. Right. So before, we'll be continuing with this session directly. The program has already started to roll, and to keep things rolling further, we already have with us our speakers and resource persons in this invited lecture series. And now I pass over the ball to Dr. Prosenjit Acharya, my esteemed colleague from the Department of Geography, to carry on further the proceedings of session 2. So, Prosenjit Acharya, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go with this notion. It is indeed a. Can I have our speaker with us? I guess he has joined. Right?
Yes, joined.
Dr. Ghosh, Dr. Ghosh has joined. Well, it is indeed a great pleasure to introduce Dr. Sharup Prasad Ghosh, Director of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Institute of Asian Studies, as the next speaker of this session. Dr. Ghosh is a professor of social sciences and has a vast experience in serving different academic positions. To name a few, he has served in the post of registrar, dean, and controller of examination at various academic institutes. As I understood from his publications, which are the manifestation of his academic credential, Dr. Ghosh has walked through the avenues of understanding the Vivekananda's views on India's society, culture, and education. An extended part of this rendition is relevance of the ideas of Vivekananda in international policy and corporate culture of the modern India. We have seen him as a popular face in television debate in recent time, criticizing and advocating different policies adopted by state and central governments. We are hoping he would portray a concise view of the National Education Policy 2020 in the interest of future India. With these words, I am handing over the session to Dr. Devashish Mandal, Professor of Economics, Vidyasagar University, to chair the session. Professor Mandal.
Okay. Students, on behalf of the teacher community of Vidyasagar University and also on behalf of Vidyasagar University as a whole, I welcome you all once again in this online invited lecture series on National Education Policy 2020, organized by Vidyasagar University Teachers Association, VUTA, and particularly in this technical session, which is going to be enriched by the valuable speech by Professor Sharup Prasad Ghosh, Director, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Institute of Asian Studies, Kolkata. We have just finished an insightful speech by Professor Kamath. My dear colleague Prosenjit has already introduced Professor Ghosh to you with his brief but rich CV. I request Professor Ghosh that you may speak partly in English and partly in Bengali, especially for our student participants, although the choice is completely yours. I request Professor Ghosh to deliver your valuable speech on NEP 2020. Professor Ghosh, please.
Please unmute, sir. Yes.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Respected Professor Mundal, revered Professor Acharya, and I'm honored that Professor Gupta has been kind enough to give me an opportunity to share my views with each and all of you regarding National Education Policy 2020. We have been praying for a new education policy for a pretty long time. And it's a long journey that we have been given this new education policy after a period of more than 30 years. 1984, we had the last education policy, and now it's 2020. And during this long period, automatically, we have seen that there has been changes in the entire spectrum of education. And if we understand that how we have contributed in the education structure during this period, in comparison, how Israel has contributed in the education structure and how we have contributed, because both of us are ancient with a very rich cultural heritage, they being just 1% of the population, see the number of Nobel laureates they have, and we more or less 16% of the world population, and see how much Nobel laureate we have. The statistics itself speaks that we have to enrich ourselves accordingly. Here, the new education policy has taken primary education for the first time with due regard and respect. For a pretty long time, primary education was not given the importance it received in 2020. And Kasturi Ranganji has tried his best to reduce the weight and the burden of young students who are attached to primary education. And we have seen that the request was to reconstitute the pedagogical structure and the curriculum from the early childhood care and education period. And here, they have reduced the content load of the school curriculum, and they have stopped segregation of subjects as curricular subjects, co-curricular subjects, and extracurricular subjects. This very attitude has given immense importance to arts, craft, music, sports, yoga, which can be now deemed as curricular subjects. Now, there has been a debate on the classical language. We have classical language and we have constitutional languages. And this part, as Debashish Babu told me to be bilingual, and Arindam Babu also told me to be bilingual, we have been saying that why Bengali is not been included in the structure of Indian classical languages. And if we go back and see that during which period the classical languages has been included, আমরা দেখতে পাবো যে যতগুলি ক্লাসিক্যাল ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ ইনক্লুড হয়েছে সেগুলো সবই পূর্বতন সরকারের সময়। বর্তমান এনডিএ সরকার আসার পরে একটি ভাষাকেও ক্লাসিক্যাল ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ করা হয়নি। তার যে বিধি বিধান, তার যে সংজ্ঞা নির্ধারণ করা হয়েছিল, তার সমগ্রটি করা হয়েছিল ভূতপূর্ব সরকারের কার্যকালে। স্বাভাবিক নিয়মেই বর্তমান সরকারের কার্যকালে কোনো ভাষাকেই ক্লাসিক্যাল ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের দরজা দেওয়া হয়নি। So I don't think that we start a debate on this why Bengali is not being included as a classical language. Rather, where we should be proud of that mother tongue has been given due regard from the primary level. And anyone staying in any part of this country can study in mother language or mother tongue, as you want to say, and if you want to do it. And here, I do understand that we have due regard for mother tongue, but we can't disregard English at all. It's the international link language. It's the language of the corporate world. It's the language of business and communications and corporate commerce also. So under these circumstances, it tried to build a harmonious balance between the need to learn the mother tongue and the necessity to be accustomed with English. And in the course of doing so, this new education policy and the members communications and Kasturi Ranganji did a great service to this nation by giving due regard to Sanskrit after a pretty long time. Sanskrit needed this regard. It deserved it. It's a storehouse of Indian ancient culture and heritage. Somebody doing research on Ramayana and Mahabharata, somebody doing research on Indology, somebody saying about Indian culture and heritage. And if you don't know a word of Sanskrit, your research is mostly based on secondary sources. So if somebody wants to do a primary research on Indological studies, he can't afford not to learn Sanskrit. It's at the root, it's at the substructure. And we have seen how India has been taken for a ride with a whole lot of research on India's culture, heritage, traditions without referring to Sanskrit. I give a simple example how we have been ditched by not including Sanskrit in our curriculum with the due regard and prestige is needed. It has been dropped in our mind and injected in our veins that Aryans came from outside. When Swami Vivekananda said it's not the truth, Sri Arvind Ghosh said it's not the truth, but it has been injected by a left liberal school of thought. And what proof they have? The Aryans were very educated people. They have written the Vedas, the Vedanta, the Gita, the Upanishads. Tell me a single slok from the Vedas, Vedanta, Upanishad and Gita where the Aryans told that they came from Central Asia. Those who doesn't know the name of their own forefathers, if I ask, name your 14 forefathers, they don't know. They are saying people came from Central Asia without a proof, just to create a narrative for their political masters. And this way, Indology has been taken for a ride by disregarding Sanskrit as just the language of the Purahits. Their own thesis. I don't say all, I say good section. And that's why in the research sector, we have huge avenues to develop. And this way, the national research has been taken for a ride by disregarding Sanskrit as just the language of the Purahits. Now, this red tapeism has been done away with. You have a University Grants Commission, you have a AICT, you have a UGC, you have many top bodies. A top heavy education system has been now being given this class that you have a Higher Education Grants Commission. And this Higher Education Grants Commission will look after the education structure in its own way. One structure will practically lead to a state where the red tapeism and top heavy structure will be given a liberal approach. And I found one of my friends told that he belongs to the world of literature and he is proud that Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation has been given huge importance. And translation do play an important role in literature, also in other fields as well, in social science and science. And it will help all the streams of education in their own way. There has been a hue and cry about privatization, that this education structure will privatize the education system. Put your hand on your heart and say how many of our kids study in government schools from 1 to 10? How many of our kids study in government school even in 11, 12? Government school has been now the option of the have-nots and an option of the middle strata The upper middle class, the super rich, none of them send their students to government schools, their child to government schools. So there has been privatization. There is no question that this education system has privatized. There has been privatization for a long period. This education system has tried to build a balance between the two. Privatization has not been encouraged, but along with privatization, public education system has been given the same importance. So it has been that there has been a hue and cry where from the money will come. Although the government told that they will increase the share of expenditure on education in their budgetary sanctions from 4% to 6%, but there has been a question where from the money will come. So the private participants, the private institutions, the private entrepreneurs will be asked to play their role. And it has been everywhere in the West also, in America also, you have private universities, private institutions. In Europe, you also have such, in Australia, in New Zealand, everywhere. So there is no problem if you have such in India. And we have also, in this education system, have tried to develop 21st century necessary life skills that will practically help a student to build a balance with a huge options to select from their minor subjects. There has been a question that if somebody takes physics as honors and philosophy in minor, physics in major, so what will be the degree he will get? I think those of us have seen the American structure. The degree is always on the major. If somebody is taking physics as major, philosophy, music in minor, he will get a degree in physics. The truth is also, if it's the other way around, so there is no confusion in it. The 4-year integrated B.Ed program, we who are attached to teaching and learning, we do support this because this will help the entire pedagogical system. If the B.Ed is restructured and the curriculum is modified. And the teacher exchange program and student exchange program, I've seen Madam saying about research institute and teaching institute. And we all know, Madam also will agree, if she is in this audience, that most of our Indian institutions are teaching institutions. 16 years, 16 hours teaching, 18 hours teaching, 12 hours, 8 hours. We know the structure at different strata in professor, associate professor, and assistant professor. And we also know the time he gets to go to the lab, time he gets to go to the library. And when we compare it with the Western standards, the entire thing is crystal clear. And we know the ratio, students-teachers ratio. We know what happens when inspection team comes and what is there in the reality. Everything is clear to each and all of us. But this has to be improved, and that's why this new education policy has kept an option of new recruits, roughly 5 lakhs new opportunities. This is a huge opportunity. 5 lakhs new posts will be created where new people from different fields of study will be able to come. And the 3-language formula, which has been prescribed, none of the languages has been imposed. Without English and Bengali, we who are living in this part of India will not choose. At the same time, if I have to choose the 3rd language, for me, Hindi will be the most important, because that will give me an opening to the pan-Indian world. If there is one Indian language which is understood by a common Indian who doesn't know English and only knows his or her mother tongue, Hindi is the only way out. If I am into Karnataka, talking to a Kannadi who doesn't know English and knows only Kannadi, the option is only Hindi. And if I have to speak Hindi, it is better to speak in a right way rather than to speak in the way we generally do. So this 3-language formula, I don't think it's wrong. And I don't think previously also this 3-language formula was there. It has been remodified in some way, and foreign language has been given due regard. And we know, I will not go into details, we know that how scholarships are given in France, Germany, in higher studies. And if students take up foreign language, suppose German or French, and go abroad during their master's course or during their doctoral course, they will get due support, and it's clear. And they have created a committee where the education structure has been 3-tier. First type, world-class research and high-quality teaching institute, which Madam has elaborately spoken. I will not go into details on this anymore. She has told what research and high quality teaching, how they can mingle, how they can turn their chairs, sometimes more orientation towards research, sometimes more orientation towards teaching. Then it's a high quality teaching with multiple disciplines. And this gives you the option of number of choice in the minor strata or minor spectrum. You take a major and minor. I have had an elaboration on this. And the third is high quality teaching for undergraduate education. This is part of the mission Takshashila and mission Nalanda. So this 3-tier has been part and parcel of the new education policy. Now this accreditation, we know accreditation, the merits and demerits both related to accreditation. And they have tried that the colleges should gradually take the autonomy for regular studies, and university should be free, more or less, for research orientation. And that will help us in changing the structure, because more we go for research, our adverse balance of payments, we have to purchase goods and materials from the Western nations for not having adequate research in our own nation. And if we can do it here in the scheme of India First, as Madam told on hackathon, automatically it will create a good impression and it will change the pattern of our adverse balance of payment to a great extent. And this very structure, I feel, is student friendly. And in a nation where a vast majority of students come from lower middle class and from the have-nots, this education system, which gives him or her the liberty to multiple entry and multiple exits, give him or, and this credit bank system is more poor oriented, because he or she has the chance to take education and also study and do job of his or her survival. So for her survival, she needs some engagement, then continue studies accordingly. This pattern, I think, the structure where the poor will feel good in studying in a multiple entry and multiple exit system. there has been questions that this education system came to the domain and people are talking about it. Adequate suggestions has not been taken. Some people who are big wings are declared critics of this new education policy started saying that suddenly this was dropped in from heaven. We never knew about it. But the structure says it was there in the public domain for not less than 4 years. It was for more than 4 years. And it also says that 150,000 suggestions came and has been accommodated. Now, we are into an age of science and technology. Even if we study history or political science, comparative literature or music, we can't disagree that skill development, hands-on skill is needed for doing the subject technically right, whatever may be my choice. And thus turning the system from job seeker to job creator. Remodeling and restructuring the syllabus so that the student mentality changes. We do have that EDC cell, entrepreneurship development cell, in most of our academic institutions. But we know how it happens in most of academic institutions and how it happens in IIT. So here, students most of the time are not interested for entrepreneurship. The Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme is stacked with this EDC scheme, which is stacked with this national education policy. This is a holistic idea. These three policies should not be studied in separate compartments. They are 3 in 1 and 1 in 3. Like we have talked about the CBCS system previously. Apart from that, the teaching of artificial intelligence, cloud computing, data science, robotics, and internet handling is part and parcel of the skill development and hands-on skill training. And changing the pattern of study from mark sheet driven to holistic report card, which will not be based only on marks. We know the structure. After 2 years, you sit for pass examination. After 1 year, you sit for honors examination. We know the structure. After 2 years, you sit for all the 8 papers of your masters. From there, we come out to a system which is based on continuous evaluation. That is lesser the burden of the students to a great extent. রবীন্দ্রনাথের কথায় শিক্ষাকে বহন করতে হবে না, তাকে যাতে বাহন করা যায়। And with this continuous evaluation, we do have self-assessment and peer-to-peer assessment as part and parcel of this teaching learning process, so that it remains playful and the temperaments remain scientific. And the structure, Madam has already told about it. There has been long discussions on this, that how 10 plus 2 plus 3 has been changed to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. I don't think those who have agreed to the structure of the Western academic pattern will disagree to this structure. And this structure is more friendly to the Western system, and students who wants to go abroad after completing their studies in India will find it more easier to drop into Western universities than our 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure. And those who are saying that where from the money will come to study for a longer period, we told that a multiple entry and multiple exit system will provide him or her the opportunity, the space and the gap to earn it and do it if needed. And it has given due regard to literacy program also. We have seen the literacy program before. Durga Murmu taught to write just Durga Murmu, and after the literacy campaigner comes out of the village, the Durga Murmu forgets to write Durga Murmu. The statistics say Durga Murmu is educated, but actually she has forgotten what she has written. Now it's clear that you have to read 30 to 35 words in a minute to prove that you are educated. And Madam has very clearly and rightfully told that it will engage, explore, experience, express, and excel. These opportunities will be there for a learner. He will be more engaged with the education system. He will try to explore his ideas through his experience, express it through soft skill, and excel in the field he wants to. And here also it has been told that when we study history or when we study any places of historical origin, it has been told that take the student to the place. This is better. If a person have a view of that place, he learns it better. I will request the person who is in the admin to please mute Sushanta Chakraborty ji, because a lot of noise is coming from there. So here there is an effort to have an emotional connection with the nation. And I don't see any problem in it. If American education structure tries to make an American a proud American, is not doing anything wrong. And if the Indian education structure wants to make the reader a proud Indian, I don't think he's doing any wrong. And that has to be done. And again, taking the pain with pleasure to relink the student with the heart of India is needed. And that has been given due regard and respect in this education system. Now, a national book promotion policy is formulated. And we see that how many of the research papers, people who do PhD, their books are no more published by the university as it was in the earlier years. So research takes place, the publications come out years and years after. When it comes out, it loses the flavor. If a research paper comes out 10 years after the PhD has been given, we can well understand that how the researcher feels and how the entire academic community is devoid of a fruit thinking that this COVID will leave us one day. And we are dreaming that in the post-COVID era, the importance of China will diminish and the importance of India will rise. And this greatly depends on our skill development. If our skill development schemes which are being advocated in national education policy is not duly implemented, we will not be able to take the opportunity the way we want. Because we have to compete it with Vietnam, we have to compete it with Southeast Asia. And there, India has an advantage, but that advantage has to be galvanized if we develop our skill opportunities in a better way in the coming days. Now, multidisciplinary education and research institutes, they have dreamt, the new education policy dreamt that it will be at par with IITs and IIMs. And here I hope and pray that the excellency of IIT and IIM is more based on the opportunities they get, which most of the non-IITs and non-IIMs still dream about. If we can provide such opportunities to the multidisciplinary education and research universities, I think we will be able to reach the goal as we have dreamt. It has been told that stringent action will be taken against substandards and teacher education institutions. It has been taken a carrot and stick policy. Those institutions which will perform will get the carrot and autonomy. Those institutions which will not perform will get the stick to perish. Without this, you can have a huge lot of institutions which will unnecessarily create pressure on your entire education structure and will not deliver. So this is an age where we either perform or perish. So this carrot and stick policy is supportable to clean up the education structure from the non-performers. The National Scholarship Portal has been given, and I don't want to go into details. Huge number of scholarships options has been given to students. Practically first time in the history of India. And with these words, I expect that what our Honorable Prime Minister has rightly said, that this entire structure as dreamt, like single common entrance examination for all colleges, all courses to be available in the regional languages, no hard divide in streams, colleges to be interdisciplinary. These things, as our Prime Minister has rightly told, will help this education system to great extent so that it can meet the demand and the necessities entrance examination for all colleges. With these words, we need cooperation from each and all, from the people who are in academics and also from those who are in academic administration. Academic administration is not corporate administration. It is different from corporate administration, and we do admit and admire that difference. So with these words, I hope and pray that this noble effort taken by you all to start a dialogue, first this dialogue and discussion will enrich us, then we can drop into the field of implementation. And sooner we drop into the field of implementation, into the structure of implementation, the better for us and the best for our motherland. With these words, thank you each and all for giving me an opportunity to share my views with each and all of you. If you have agreed, my humble regards to you. If you have disagreed, no problem. In academics, we say, let's agree to disagree. That's the color of academics. With these words, thank you to all of you and my humble regards to each and all of you. Namaskar.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Ghosh, for your illuminating speech on different aspects of the National Education Policy 2020. Main aspects you have covered are abolition of the distinction between curriculum, extracurriculum, and co-curriculum. That was the first point. Second, you have said that in this particular policy, National Education Policy 2020, a balance has been, say, thought for local or mother language and a classical Indian language, namely Sanskrit, and also the English language, which is basically the language for higher education, research, and international transactions. And the other point you have covered is introduction of the policy of multiple entry and multiple exit system in the new education policy, which will, say, help mainly the poor students. Then you have also talked about emphasis on research by allowing some universities to, say, move from what is called teaching intensive universities to research intensive universities. And also you have talked about entrepreneurship development scheme, vocational training program, etc. has been given due importance to this particular, say, particular education policy. So thank you, Professor Ghosh, for your valuable speech. Now I request if there is any question from the audience, from the participants, then that can be put before you, and we shall be happy that you will have some time for giving answer to them. Thank you, Professor Ghosh.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you, Professor Mangal. We have a question. Let me quote that from Ramachandran K. He's asking that, is there any provisions in NEP 20 for autonomous colleges to become teaching-centered universities or research-centered universities? Because many affiliated colleges, including autonomous colleges, already offer PG program and PhD programs.
Very good question, Ramchandranji. My regards to you. And what we say in the language of Constitution, that we should take the NEP 2020 both in letter and spirit. And what is the spirit in between? The spirit in between has always been that the performer should be praised and the opportunities of the performer should be increased. So autonomous colleges, if they show signs of further research, advanced research, the option for upgradation is not negated either philosophically or in the very thesis of NEP 2020. Rather, take the example which I have given. IIT and IIM, are they less than any university? If somebody gets to any university, I don't want to name any, is it an option to study in IIT? I don't want to answer also. Just keep this question, which option he will take. Somebody getting in any university of India and in IIT. So the answer is yes. There is opportunity of multidisciplinary colleges who can perform well as art colleges and give due regard, respect, and importance to high-end research can turn up to be universities. And universities have different structures. You have the pattern of deemed university also. So it's no problem upgrading of an education institution from one certified strata to another stratified strata is a normal process and always greeted in the academic structure by the academicians.
putting the questions another way around, that if aspirants is supposed to work on uh, a teaching university, and if that aspirant is completed from his or her degree, PhD degree from any of the IITs and IIMs, and he or she may gets I mean, suppose the system based on which this research and teaching university is categorized, there are some certain inputs. Now it becomes a captive aspirant. Right? He or she felt become a captive aspirants, because if he or she joined that teaching university, rest of of their life would be spent on maximum time in the teaching. So I don't think that being a liberal education policy, we should classify these things in the teaching and research university, right? I mean, you're holding
Madam,
a
Madam, if I am permitted to say, I share my views with my previous speaker, who she has very categorically and very rightly pointed out that no institution is permanently a teaching institution and no institution is permanently a research institution. When an institution can upgrade itself from being a teaching multidisciplinary institution to a research oriented institution, it can be other way around. So this is a very dynamic process, madam. So there cannot be a stereotype answer or a stereotype that this institution is tagged as teaching oriented multidiscipline. This institution is to be tagged as research. We should come to the conclusion according to their performance.
okay. The last question that I would like to say is that Professor Bodhumangal Pal and Professor Arindam Das both have asked the same questions. Is the option of multiple entry exit system given in the policy, is they exist in any other country? Is it manageable?
Madam, it do
No,
exist
this
in
is
the
not
West.
my question. This is not my question. This is the
Okay.
question raised by
No
other
problem.
party.
No problem. No problem. Whoever asked this question,
Obviously,
answer
it is manageable. I think.
Coordinator
uh,
coordinates
is
Dr. Kushan.
we have such examples of multiple entry and multiple exit in the West. But in India, we should understand, very unfortunate that after so many years of independence, we still house the largest number of illiterate people on earth. We should come out of this stigma, and multiple entry and multiple exit should be there to help us to take education to the doors of millions, to the doors of the have-nots, to the doors of the underprivileged class. So we have some special peculiar problem to address in India, and our new education policy has kept in mind those India-centric peculiarities which we have inherited due to long years of imperial rule.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh, for your cunning views on this NEP. Now, I should pass the baton to the next session, and the next session would be overtaken by Dr. Shurajit Ghosh, Department of Physics. Shurajit Da,
Mm,
please.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all of you.
Uh,
Okay, thank you, Professor Ghosh.
Thank you, Prasenjit, for giving me the opportunity to introduce Professor Chakraborty. It is my pleasure to introduce eminent scientist Professor Partho Saruthi Chakraborty. Professor Chakraborty is the first full-term director of the Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Technology, Shivpur. He served as professor and head of the Department of Electronic Engineering, IIT BHU. He was the coordinator of the Center for Research in Microelectronics, and he was the founder coordinator of Micro Electromechanical System Center at IIT BHU. He was the former director of NIT Allahabad. He had been on the additional charge of the director NIT Patna for a long period during his tenure at NIT Allahabad. Professor Chakraborty had made a significant contribution to experimental and theoretical research in the area of microelectronics and photonics. He published more than 280 papers and filed 3 patents and also authored 3 textbooks. He has completed many R&D projects sponsored by government funding agencies such as DST, CSIR, DRDO, etc. He is a recipient of the INSA and SCRC fellowship. More than 280 he was honored with the senior visiting fellowship of the Engineering and Physical Science Research Council, United Kingdom. Professor Chakraborty is a fellow of Institute of Engineers and a senior member of IEEE USA. He was awarded Amity Academic Excellency Award 2015 and received of the MRSI Distinguished Lectureship Award 2019-20. Now I request Chairperson of this session, Professor Smita Seat, to invite Professor Chakraborty to deliver his lecture. Professor Seat, now the platform is yours.
Namaskar. I welcome Professor Chakraborty to this session. আমি প্রফেসর চক্রবর্তীকে এখন বক্তব্য রাখার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি।
Good evening. To thank the Vidyasagar University Association, Teachers Association for inviting me to express my opinion about the national education. I apologize for the fact that I have another program at 6:30, so I'll not be able to speak for probably entire 1 hour. So you'll have to excuse me for that. And regarding your national education policy, you know, it's a huge document, and I normally call it a vision document, how this 21st century education program planning will be there. So that policy is actually laid down in this. And there are a lot of flexibilities, liberties which are given to the institutions and individuals. And I was asked to deliver probably in Bengali, and other speakers have spoken already in English, and I'll use a mixed one because we have different types. So when I generally, since I belong to a national institute, I prefer to use the official language so that it reaches everybody. And I've already given one your talk on this in Bengali, purely in Bengali, in Akashvani, on their request, and we discussed many issues. And I think the previous speakers, because I was in another program, so I could not join this from the beginning. But I heard Dr. Ghosh speaking a lot about this national education policy, and the previous speaker must have spoken in details about the new national education policy. Now, as an administrator for a long time in this, because I was higher education, so I could not. I have seen the changes which is now going to happen. As you all know that this education policy has come after almost 34 years. 34 years, so it was long overdue. And every time people used to blame for the failures of the students or something, we used to blame the education system. This education system is very rigid. There should be flexibility. It should be made more interesting. And these students are generally under serious pressure as we compare to Western countries. In the early days, the learning is more of fun than a stressful life that from day one you tell your kids that, look, you have to prepare for IITs and you must qualify in JEE, or you must go to a very good medical school, so that kind of peer pressure actually troubles the students a lot. And seldom we realize, even though this kind of forum we talk a lot of things, but when it comes to our own individuals, our children, though we tend to forget that. And we try to put the tremendous pressure because of the, I should call it a societal pressure, because you think that if your kid is not qualified in JEE, so it's not good for anything. So this kind of message which we send to students, they put them under extreme pressure. So if somebody is going for love sports or music or something like that, we tend to tell them, oh, these are all useless. There's no future in this. You should focus on your studies, regular studies, and get a decent job. And that's the goal. That should be the goal of your life, which is stable at home. And from that point of view, I think this national education policy is really a boon to this now. And I think that all you wanted for so many years, so many decades, I'll say, that has finally come. And now some people are very critical. They say that, okay, this is good in principle, but is it possible to implement it? And I personally believe that yes. The answer is yes, provided we have the intention to do that. And if we do not have the intention to do that, so then probably it's not possible. So we'll have to take this challenge, and it is the responsibility of the leaders of these academic institutions, all academic institutions, at the school level, at the higher education level, vocational, so everywhere, all will have to come together, and we'll have to work in the field to make it out, see that how it can be implemented. So implementation, when it comes to our responsibility, we chose to do it. It is very easy to blame the administration, blame the establishment that enough has not been done. But when it comes to us, that have you done your part of the job? So we have no answer for that. So we'll have to change our attitude. That's the first thing. And if we can do that, probably we'll be able to implement it also. Now, regarding this, as you know that this is readily available in net, and lot of materials you'll get on this national education policy. Now, I look at it in a different way. Being a technologist and engineer, the changes I've seen over my past experience of teaching more than 30 years. So I have seen that how these things have changed over a period of time, and particularly in engineering education and say the higher education in totality. There needs to be a change in the focus and our attitude to this higher education. One thing we say that gross enrollment ratio. What is this gross enrollment ratio of higher education? What do you mean by this higher education? Higher education not necessarily mean that you have to have a PhD degree in that particular stream. And in a particular stream which has no market value. There's no taker. So that's not. If you are having a PhD degree and sweeping the floor, that's not, you don't require a PhD degree for that. So we need to change that. This higher education, I believe that should not be made open to all. It should be your choice, your passion. You love to study more about that. Because everyone who comes for studying, particularly in professional courses, they want a job. There's no denial about the fact. You can say that knowledge for its own sake, that you can do without having a degree also. You can study as many books as you please. You can go to library, study. So there's no end. And there's now internet facilities there. A lot of information is available. So why do you require a degree? Most of us at the end of the day, we want a decent job. So you cannot deny that fact. And even though we say that the university's goal is not to give you some fundamental knowledge and other things we impart, but it has become our responsibility to see that the product we produce, that human resource we produce, there should be marketing. There should be a takers for those. So from that point of view, I'll see. And you have heard a lot about this national education policy. What are these? I was just listening to this. That you have the system of multiple entry, multiple exit system. You will have a credit bank system where your credits will be deposited like a bank account, and you can take a break for some time and join back and add some more credits. So your diploma can be converted into a degree. So in terms of this, it is an enormous facility. And from professional courses, we have seen that Sometimes the master students, after doing graduation, they don't get a placement, so they try for master's degree, get admission, suddenly gets a job and wants to leave the job. So wants to join the job and leave the course in between. And now this provision is there that they can take temporarily off, go and join the job. And after some time, they can come back again on study leave and can complete the rest of the courses. Right? Sometimes after joining some course, there's some financial problem, some family problem for which you need a temporary withdrawal from the course. Right? And normally here it is discontinuation and your termination of the course. But now this new system will give you additional flexibility of coming back anytime when you are comfortable and continue your studies. So, and other important things, I'm not going into the school part also, there's a radical change in the your schools also level. But in higher education, another thing which I like is that focus on your multidisciplinary approach, cross-disciplinary approach. That's a very, very good point. And many of you may argue that, do you mean to say that this flexibility is not there in the previous education system? I'll say no, it was not there, but the focus will be more on the multidisciplinary approach, interdisciplinary studies. That was not there previously. And the way that graduation program is made for from 3 to 4 years, the new proposal, which Delhi University, all of you know, started in the beginning. Now I see Bangalore is having a course like that. They had to scrap the course and go back to that 3 years program. 4 years of focus, if you see that, this is really, really excellent way that for 3 years you study the general things, then you focus on a particular area. So somebody is doing graduation in physics, then he gets into nanotechnology specialization for 1 year. He does some research kind of investigation, and then from 4 years basic and directly go for PhD, those who want to go for higher studies. So these kind of flexibilities are given, and best part is that compartmentalization of the courses which was earlier there has been completely removed. That's a great thing. Means you can do physics with your music. Nothing can be better than this. So the partition between curricular, extracurricular activities will all merge. No knowledge is less important than, and you know that there are very, very top class physicists who used to love music, and they have done. Now it will be more passion driven. This kind of studies will be more passion driven than forcing somebody to, no, you have to study physics, chemistry and mathematics if you want to qualify in JEE. So this kind of pressure will go. So let them choose the subject as they like it. So that's the good thing. But the parents definitely have a great role. I do not know. We criticize a lot of things, but we are not changing ourselves. Our mindset is such that we preach something to others, but we practice in our own case something different. So I appeal to all parents, those who are here, that in your individual case, do some kind of introspections, right? And I really feel shocked and sometimes ashamed that the students or these kids are forced to commit suicide because of the tremendous peer pressures and the pressure from the parents. But we do not realize. So this time has come. We should think very seriously about this. And this, so higher education in your West, if you see that people go to your adult education or community colleges, they go and they consider it higher education. Higher education is not necessarily getting masters and PhD in that subject, right? So if you open, this is my personal opinion and my appeal to the advisors to the ministries, that they should think about this. This cannot be diluted. You know, higher education is very, very expensive in the West. Very, very expensive in the West. And you know that many students do not have the adequate money for paying the fees in those universities. And they are not supported by parents as it happens in India, that you are doing masters and doing PhD and your parents are copying money. So that doesn't happen in the West. So after 16, 17 years, you are free, that you have to earn, you work in a hotel, in a restaurant, or anywhere you work and use. And I think that it should be interest driven and you'll have to pay. This concept of privatization is coming and it has to come. It has to come because you cannot use this public money for creating more and more institutions which will be fully funded by the government. So in the West also you'll find that a lot of people money, the best popular. So this kind of planning and management of finance, everything will have to do, the institutions will have to do, and the private players will have to come in a big way and support. Then only it will be possible to implement it in the true spirit of this. And it talks about a lot of other things also, that teaching the teachers also, because the technology is changing very fast. Those who are in the technology area, every day there is a public money for creating more and more institutions, science, information technology, electronics, electrical engineering. So all this technology is changing so fast, it is necessary to train the teachers also. Right, and the teachers should be always open to learn from the students are very, very advanced, because the information source is so huge, and they can listen to any good lectures from University of Stanford or University of Illinois or any big Texas, any big institute you name, and renowned professors. The lectures are available very easily. They are available. So they have a lot of information. So the teachers need to also improve with time. Those days are over, when the teacher used to come with the YOLO sheets in this notes. We used to call notes, lecture notes to the class and read it out. So those days are over now, right? And it's a very tough time. And if you do not update yourself with the recent development, it's very, very, very difficult to stay in this profession now. So, and this education policy talks about inclusive development. Another important thing which I've seen, which I particularly appreciate, and you must have noticed that the kind of education which we are getting in India because of this British people coming here and this colonial rule, they wanted to train and produce. For example, my institution, where I am presently heading the institution, this institution was created with an aim to create some kinds of overseers, draftsmen who can help the day-to-day work of an engineer, because it is very expensive to bring engineers all the way from England to here. They become expensive. So they started this college in this way. But the knowledge has its own way, and in the way they have produced brilliant engineers who have contributed to the nation. And after independence, the whole story has changed really. And that way, India has produced a lot of, even though British, they wanted to produce clerks and this kind of people to help their administration, but it has produced really remarkable scientists all over the country. So that's the beauty of knowledge. So this particular education system now, it tries to connect you to the basic root, our heritage, our knowledge treasure. That is a tremendous knowledge treasure we have. And at some point of time, we chose to ignore them. Why? Because I do not know. And that was done by these colonial rulers with an intention, right? So that knowledge somehow we lost. And today, when we look back and we come to know about this our knowledge treasure, you will be really simply amazed at how these people have created that kind of knowledge in those days, right? And this whole university concept actually emerged from India, right? And unfortunately, others are now on the top, right? You can talk of Takshashila, Nalanda, or any university. Concept was here only. And our knowledge treasure, I was reading an article where it says that your quantum mechanics. So quantum mechanics, the whole concept of that quantum mechanics finally finds its linkage with Upanishad. Many people will not believe it and take it from me. All these people, Niels Bohr, Einstein, Schrodinger, everyone was influenced by our Eastern philosophy, where Upanishad talks about this thing. They were really confused about this wave nature and particle nature, and this dualism of wave particle dualism. So you cannot really feel in the physical world this kind of concept, but this was known to people in ancient time of India. So that's the very interesting article I read, and I like all of you should know that. So this is a rich treasure cultural heritage of this country. You cannot cut it from ourselves, from your root, and then try to develop. Right. So that's one of the beauty of this national education policy. That's very good. And the rest of the part will be your more of administration and how to implement it, and what will be the regulatory bodies. One thing we have seen that why it has come, or maybe that is also we have learned this kind of tricks from the British people of not doing the things properly. We say that there is a body, but that body doesn't do its job properly. But that's very unfortunate part in our country, that not everybody are trustworthy. So they don't do the duty which is assigned to them, or they do not do in an unbiased way. Right. So that's an unfortunate thing, and we have to change our attitude. And I think now it will be unified for all this funding and other administration part for the higher education. One body will be there. Under these different sections will be there, which will be looking into this. So from this point of view, I see that higher education, at some point of time, we need to give some people some kind of education which will enable them to get a job, right? And what our Honorable Prime Minister is writing is skill development is very, very important. You cannot ignore. You cannot ignore that everyone after having your +2, 10+2 must go for an engineering study. Is not a must. It's not a must, right? So you give them some kind of training, skill development training, and you know there are certain areas where you have real shortage of manpower. And the basic problem in our country is again that is the dignity of job profession you do, right? You do not feel it in the Western country. So if you ask a student randomly, he may say that I want to become a beautician, I want to become I want to become in that advertisement world or model, or I can go to choose a profession of haircutting only. So hairdresser. So this kind of profession, because in a hairdresser also they have a decent life, and you have to take an appointment from a hairdresser as you take an appointment from a doctor or a lawyer. So and they do not care for others sexually, and they're not looked down upon. I have seen in UK that one lecturer, her husband was a painter. Painter means who paints the wall. But this kind of combination you will not find in this country, because you think that what the society will do. I'll tell that my son-in-law is a painter, when my daughter is a lecturer or a professor. So you cannot do it, but they don't care. At the end of the day, how much pound you or how much dollar you earn is important, and what kind of life you lead is important for them. So once the dignity of labor comes to, so these things will know. You need a lot of plumbers, you require electricians, a lot of this kind of people. There's a acute shortage of people, right? And a large section of these people should be trained in these professions, these kind of trades, so that they can get job, right? And as I say normally, that it's not necessary that country will be able to provide all of them job. They have job in other places also. Middle East countries. You know that how many people go from this Eastern UP part to those Middle East country for doing the work of a machine, doing the work of an electrician, or doing the work of a plumber. But they don't have a certificate. So they are just working like labor and doing the job of a technician. But if they have a degree or some kind of certification, so they can earn more there. And this kind of people. And engineering also, you need to have a complete change in the focus. Don't produce engineers where there is no job. We see, I've seen in my entire career of teaching the students of more than 3 decades. So I've seen that. Everybody, you are doing metallurgy, you are doing mining, everybody is going for a software job. Because the market, the demand is software. So everybody talks about, you join engineering and everybody talks about, coding. Everybody is after coding, you have to know coding. So nobody is interested in learning the core subject. But you see that the condition of the teachers think that I have studied mechanical engineering this way, I have to read mechanics this way, I have to understand how the beam bends and what are the stress, strain, everything I must calculate, and if I do not know, I cannot become an engineer. Right? Now, if the job is in software and people are doing that, and then you have to change the focus. And similarly, you have a lot of other areas also where you will find that we need manpower in those areas, like disaster management, mitigation. So you need manpower, huge number of manpower there. So you create hospital management. Hospital management is an area where you need a lot of people there. So the universities, institutions should come forward, managing the old age patient, because that in the old age you know that there's problem. So if you have trained people like to take care of this, so this can be also a very good area. So there are certain areas where you really require manpower and you do not have any trained manpower. So we must give this, have the courses in this particular area and train manpower in this. Not necessarily an undergraduate BTech degree, but we need some kind of training, or it could be a BSc program also. So we'll have to choose those areas. And why I'm saying this, because now the direction is different, it's continuously changing, and because of this information technology, you will see that this educational institution in near future, they will have a tough competition with the giant information technology companies like Google and others. And recently, I was reading an article on many of you must have seen that. They were thinking of competing in the education area also with the universities. You are producing engineers who are not getting degree. Now these companies are coming, they will say that we'll give you a certificate of 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, and I assure you a job. Now, do you think that these students will come to university, pay this huge amount of fees there, or they will go to Google-like company and find these courses to get a job? Right. So this trend, this is a very dangerous trend which is coming, and information technology in this whole world is going to take all of us in a ride. Right. So this, we must be very, very careful the way this your Facebook and other things, the social media is controlling the sentiment and emotion of people also. You must have noticed in the recent past. No one wants to check what is the fact and what is not a real fact. Something propagates, you pick it up and start this. So a day will come when you lose your senses and get guided by these people. So they will try to draw your emotion, your attraction to certain facts. Maybe it's a false fact, and they will control the whole. So before it happens, really, we have to be very, 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 very careful about that. And this educational institute will have to change the traditional way of doing things. You will have to have altogether a new system, more flexible, more friendly, with the students, and it should be also affordable. That is, it should be education for all. So that affordable. But again, I should say that primary education must, it's a responsibility, because government has social responsibilities. Government cannot escape, an individual can escape sometime, but government has social responsibilities. So government will do that. Primary education, secondary education, fine. But higher education, making it subsidized and affordable, why? If you are an established engineer or an established doctor, and sometime you find that I have money and I can pay the fees, and I want to learn about Indian philosophy. I can register in an institute and learn about it and get a degree. Why there should be a bar of that? I can do that. But I should not produce 70, 80, 90 students registering for a course which is not even. And why unnecessarily you should do PhD and we should publish papers which nobody reads? Why? That's why they are giving focus on more on the innovation. That you do innovative kind of research. Don't do stereo kind of research. Don't do Western country driven research. Do work on a research problem which is really an issue before the country, before the society. Solve their problem. It may not be a new idea, but it could be indigenous. It could be cheaper than what is available in the market. So this kind of work is also important. Yeah, there will be institutions, the top layer of institutions. Well, let them do research, compete with the international level, but this kind of research is also important, and innovative kind of research is very no stereotype of research, just saying that I have 500 publications and my publications nobody reads. Right. I will not juggleries of those things also, this impact factor, manipulation of this citation, etc. I'm not going into this, but that's not important. But what it is now the signal is very clear. Government has pumped so much money into all these national institutions and all these institutions, but output-wise, if you see that, unless apart from your individual publication list, the contribution to the society is marginal. In recent past, the institution is now learning that will have to, because most of the institution, if government says tomorrow that will not give you fund, so be self-sufficient, and I believe most of the institutions will be closed. Because we have developed that habit of getting this, looking at the government that give us fund. So if fund is given, and anyone can manage this. So, but if you are asked to generate the fund, it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. So I think education institutes will have to change their attitude. Have to change their attitude. And signals are coming that just for doing your own research and satisfaction, I think that's not the proper way of doing it. So work on this. Certain areas are there where we really require people and research. Artificial intelligence is definitely one of them. In the field of robotics, we have to work in the non-conventional energy. This is one area India must do research, because energy is going to be a biggest challenge, because fossil fuel is limited, and you know that solar power or other kind of generation of electricity is needed by tapping energy from nature, energy harvesting. These are the areas where you really need to work. In the area of sensors, you have to work because all these things will be, your IoT system is going to come. So this way you'll find that whole technology direction is changing, and you'll have to tune yourself in that direction, the changing scenario. If you cannot do that, you will not exist. It's as simple as that. I heard the previous speaker was, now that situation has come, perform or perish, and there is no third way where you can go, whether it comes to your research, and staying in the teaching profession itself will be also very tough. Now, with this remark, I'll come to that another point, important point, that this COVID scenario. COVID scenario, now this has a huge impact on your academics, both in schools as well as in your your institute, colleges and universities. Now, for a long time, we used to talk about this digital platform and taking online classes, etc. And somehow it was not happening just because it was there and it was very limited application was there. Now this situation COVID has taught us a lesson. I will say that every cloud has a silver lining. So that kind of COVID has given you some new ideas also. And I do not know how many companies have come up for making this mask and your face guard, your sanitizer. A lot of business opportunities have also come. Online education, online examination, proctored examinations, all kinds of business opportunity has come. That's the other side of the COVID effect. But one thing, it has definitely accelerated that use of digital technology in this way. After demonetization, we all were, most of us, even though I was using that plastic money for a long time, in education, online examination, plastic proctored examinations, all kinds of making all business opportunity has come. That's the other side of I used to the COVID. Now everywhere it has become very common after demonetization, and now it is all cashless transaction which we do, which is a very good thing which has happened. And I used to those days I used to think that why in small cities these facilities were not there, that making your cashless payment. Now in all small cities also you find this facility. Likewise, COVID has actually given an acceleration to this implementation of the digital platform and the education through digital platform. But again, you think that you see that why I'm saying that there are big companies or there, giant companies are there who are trying to enter in every field. You see that all these companies, Microsoft you'll find, Google you'll find, Zoom you'll find, right? Now first they will give you free, right? Once you get addicted to it, they will put your cost on you, right? So these people are making business out of that, right? So in the country also we'll have to develop some web-based platform where we can, why should we depend on Google? Or this is a big challenge, and I believe our people have the potential, engineers have the potential to develop this kind of your platform where this digital education can deliver your learning through digital platform, and it should be Indian made and indigenous, of course. Otherwise, these companies will continue to exploit us and get money from us. And some organizations are promising that a student can appear in the examination sitting at home and camera will be there, blah blah, and this he cannot do any kind of your malpractices or all these things they are promising. So I think the country needs to get into that. But there are certain problems also associated with this complete education on the digital platform. And this national education policy speaks about that also. Not COVID, because COVID was not, but it is mentioned about more usage of this. But there are certain courses where it is not practicable to go completely on digital. And because you have a course on hands-on experience in many, particularly in professional courses, like in engineering courses, so where they have to come to lab and do the experiments to have hands-on experience. So in medical profession also, if you do not accompany the doctor in OT, or you do not do the dissection properly, then probably you not learn many things. So there are certain courses where probably complete digital platform, going to digital platform, switching over to digital platform may not be feasible. But in many areas, it is possible to go completely on digital. With due respect to all subjects and everything, there are certain subjects where the courses can be done online. And the day has to come, whether you like it or not, it is going to come. that some courses will be offered. Why you require such a kind of infrastructure where you don't require to go to there, right? So why should you admit? So I think with passage of time, some courses I think will be completely online, which does not demand your, and many courses in the management kind of courses also can be done in the online mode. And many places, you know, that digital platform is widely used for executive programs for management. So that kind of program can be also given in other branches also. Those are working professionals. For them, you can give some courses online. So it will be win-win situation for both. So the teachers as well as the learners. So that way, I think this has given an acceleration to look into this. But somebody is posing some question. Yeah, there are a lot, but time will tell us that what will happen in this people, because we have, again, I'll say that we have a mindset that because in my own experience of taking classes in this semester, I found that online education, what I normally do, I do a normal kind of teaching, writing on the board and explaining the things. I can manage it with 2 web cameras, and I do it, and I find that interaction of with the individual students is also good. I made one thing compulsory for the students, that you have to switch on your video so long you are in the class. So you cannot just switch off the video, and so you'll have to be present there so that I can see your reaction, because normally the teachers know that when you go to the class, what kind of impact it is making. You read it from the face of the students. So that you say that is not always possible in online. But you know, these days, sometimes the class size is more than 100 students, 120 students in the class. So they are looking at the face of everybody is not possible. But on the screen, you can see many of them, and you can ask question and somebody answers the question. Interaction can be very good. So, and again, I said that is all mindset. All those teachers who are in other generations, so they will say, no, this is not that effective. There is no replacement of blackboard teaching kind of thing. But with time, again, we have to change. Otherwise, we will not survive. Others will survive. So, as I said, that if you like it or not like it, it's going to happen. It's going to come. We'll have to adapt it. And but so far as examination is concerned, probably the technology which we are having at the moment, probably it's not possible to have a examination in real time, which will be completely online, and no one, you cannot assure that no one is taking any unfair means for writing this answer. And in the name of examination, and you give some question and give them 24 hours, doesn't make any sense of examination. Because there are hardly teachers who can set this kind of questions, and you believe that the student is connected with everybody in the world today. So answer to your question, getting a question, it's not very difficult. So if you can do a real-time examination, giving a fixed time, asking question, and if you get the answer and proctoring it, then probably it is possible. But there is another part of it where you find that many students do not have access to high-speed internet. And the difficulty is there when you ask some question to a student, then they will say definitely it doesn't know the answer to the question, sir. There's some network problem. Vanishes from the side. Right. And it happens in the interviews also sometimes, the student, or they search for some answer in some other devices. So this kind of thing happens. So examination, so far as examination is concerned, I don't know, it looks pretty difficult at the moment, but with time, sometimes the technology develops, or coming to a examination station and appearing in the examination, from there probably will be possible. But otherwise, I think that we'll have to go through your conventional examination technique. But this will have some impact, and you can have some nice kind of demo for your laboratories. That also your NPTEL, some courses have been developed where some laboratory courses are given. and there you can have some demo kind of experiment when somebody will uh, discuss the steps of the doing the experiments and show this how this experiment is done, how the measurements are taken. Then the results are shared with the students and asked to interpret the results, etc. So that process they can learn. And most of the institutions, not a very good institution, most of the institution also, you'll find that the experiments are listed and they are running for last, say, 10 years or 15 years, there will be some experiments. You have said 10 sets of experiments now, and you'll have to do this year after year. What they do, they copy the seniors, their data, and the machine memory is not working, but the data is continuing, and they are copying it. And in engineering institutions, those who are in engineering institution may know, the senior used to call the juniors to write their lab report, etc. So this kind of laboratory, doing this laboratory is also not very meaningful. We need to change this attitude also, because as you know that when they go in an university, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is important now, that lab also, in normal regular lab also, we'll have to make a lot of changes, like you give them design from, you make a group of students as you do in industry, that there's a project group. A project is given to them, or a part of a project is given to them, and they work all together on that particular kind of design problem. So this kind of changes you have to make. Otherwise, these normal labs and these online labs are not going to make much of a difference. But it is true also. If you never seen the machine where you are supposed to work, also doesn't make a sense. Despite the fact that when you come from university and go to a real industry, and you see huge difference in the instrument which you have handled in the university and what you have handling in the plant, they're completely different. But the purpose of university or institution is not to train you like that completely for the industry. They give you the fundamentals and ideas, and then you have to build up depending on that. So online is a big challenge, and unfortunately this national education policy has touched upon that point also, and now we feel badly the need of this going for online education. And rest is again, finally it comes down to making it happen, as it's a part 4 of this says, making it happen that no one will come and get it done for you. So no fine morning is going to come and you'll get up and you'll find that everything is implemented and in place. That's certainly not going to happen. So it is our responsibility, our joint responsibility, and to implement it, and particularly the onus will be on those who are in academic institution, and all these academic institutions will have to make some plan, some short-term plan which you can do immediately without making much of deviation in the existing thing. And another is long-term measures where you need the approval of the Senate or the Council or the board or somebody else, your Senate syndicate. So you want to make some changes. So that will be long-term policy, and it will take some more time. But if the will is there, I believe that we can definitely implement. Not all in one go, but step by step, definitely we can implement it. Right? Document is everywhere. You can read the document, you can interpret the document in your own way, you can argue on certain points, but there's no denial of the fact that it's an unbiased document which has been created and placed before you. And now we have to take the responsibility of implementation. That's all from my side, which I wanted to share with you. The coming days are very, very, very competitive, very, very competitive. So if you cannot change yourself, adapt yourself with the changing scenario, you are completely out of the system. Nobody cares. And that's the message, and that we should understand. The sooner we understand, it is better for all. Somebody was posting some question regarding your employment, etc. True. that some people, there are jokes that because most of the things are going online and many people are not familiar with this kind of online education. So if somebody says that I passed out in year 2020, then interview board will probably say, oh, that COVID period. So you wash your hands and stay safe and goodbye. No job for you. So this kind of thing will not definitely come. I think industry, everybody will understand. And industry, it is now very common to work from home. It's very common, right? So people are working from home. So why you cannot learn from home? Why you cannot learn from home? So they are giving you a project and you are tagged with them, and they are getting work done by you, the corporates, 16 hours, 17 hours from an engineer. You have no life, and they won't have to maintain office to pay for the electricity or air conditioning, the establishment charges. There's no charge, and they get more than the work they get it in the office. So I think it is. Then the question, what is why you require such a big campus, so many hostels and this? Some courses probably it will no longer be there. Some professional courses probably this kind of things, campus concept will be. In many cases, it will be a virtual campus. Many of the courses it will be a virtual campus. It's I may be wrong, and future may prove me wrong also. But I think that things are moving in that direction. So that's all from my side. And I have another program I'll have to deal with. There's some couple of quick questions I would like to respond to that. I don't know whether I'll be able to answer, but I'll respond.
Smitaji, you are muted. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Chakraborty, for this beautiful, thought-provoking lecture. This lecture mainly focused on higher education. Professor Chakraborty touched many issues, that is flexibility of education system, interdisciplinary approach, funding of higher education from both public money and private, use of technology in teaching and learning, then connecting education with a basic root of knowledge, treasury, and the connecting employment opportunity also with the education system. And then lastly, he talked about importance of innovative research and research funding. And then at the last, the medium of teaching he touched. So I think there are a lot of questions to Professor. I am requesting Prabhash to present those questions. Or Mr. Gupta.
Yes. Shurajit has already given me that responsibility because he is using his mobile, so he's not in a position to put the question. So I would like to take, since our speaker is scheduled to leave our session very shortly, I would like to take one question, although there are many, from Dr. Prashanjit Acharya. Not the last one which he put, but the previous one, that seeking higher education costlier results in unaffordability for a large section of the lower middle class and lower economic class students. This opinion, actually, this is an opinion, but this opinion is linked to another which he has expressed, that the trend of this new education policy is towards more privatization. So if that question may be answered for you.
Yeah, so let me answer it in this way. You know that government has different schemes and for giving relaxation in the fees, as you know, in engineering institutions also, including IITs, NITs, all these institutions, government is giving depending on your income. They make it free, right? For 100% free, if your income is certain bar, then your 50% deduction, 75% deduction, the slabs are there, income slabs based on that. If you have meritorious students and who cannot study for this, they should be given complete support. But if you have money, then also there is no justification that you pay 100 rupees and get admission into a university, right? And get a degree. So there is no reason. You see that people are spending in India, sitting in India, they are doing degrees in US universities and spending 2 crores on that. Even within the country, they are spending crores of rupees for getting an MBBS degree or a MD degree. People have money. So when money is there, why shouldn't you tap it? So they are ready to pay. They are even going to China or some other places to get an MBBS degree by paying money. But when it comes to the institution, they want to pay the minimal amount. And these institutions, we have to understand, these institutions are all run by public money. It is indirectly coming on you only. It is coming on all of us. That we need to understand. Government doesn't have a kind of pay that you get the money from this. There is no tree where the money is coming. It is your money which is coming. Right? If this money is given in subsidizing your education in those areas where there is no taker, where there is no taker, government gives you the money or rebating the fees, and you earn a degree, and then you pressureize that I'm an educated, unemployed youth, I'm not getting a job. So what's the use of that degree? So those who are meritorious students, good students, give them 100% rebate. And here the role of the philanthropist. Here the role of the philanthropist. The biggest problem that we have created some institutions who are pampered by the government. That whatever money you want, you will get you the money, and you do your research for your this thing. No, you have to generate revenues. So you have to explore all the avenues. I do not say that weaker students, that EWS has already been created. Not only for the economically weaker section, government has created your fees rebate, then reservation in your employment. There's no problem, and no one will deny that some cases we require this, but it should not be given like this, where the cost of a lecture wants to be less than a cup of coffee. You can go to CCD or barrister and you can pay 300 rupees for a cup of coffee, but when it comes to institute, you will say there is a hike in fees. So this attitude, you see that this will happen everywhere. In gas subsidy, you have enjoyed the gas subsidy for so many years, right? But you are spending money for everything, but you are not ready to pay on cooking gas. Why? If there is 100 rupees increase, you will start shouting. But you will go to a supermarket and buy some branded item which is available at 25% of the cost which you pay there. There you don't mind. But when it comes to giving subsidy to something, you start shouting that the gas prices have gone up. Everybody can afford it. At some point of time, you have to trust certain things. And people will have to accept it. And people have realized it all. Then after this COVID period, the queue in the like you know that because it was unmanageable. Unmanageable. There's no COVID restriction, nothing was there. So they have money to buy this alcohol, but they don't have money to pay for it. This is unbelievable. All of us will have to change our attitude. For US University, I'm ready to pay, but for IIT, I want to study free of cost. Why? And I say government's primary responsibility is primary healthcare, yes, government's responsibility. Primary education, secondary education, government's responsibility. But you will do PhD after PhD in public. This is not. I don't think that this model cannot sustain for a long. This model cannot sustain. West has realized earlier and have to realize.
Can I have interjection, sir?
No.
I have interjection, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Before that, Acharya, please.
Yes.
Can you mute others? Others can be muted and
There is a lot of noise from Professor Amol Kumar Mondal. Please, Prakash, I request you. Otherwise, we can't hear properly. Yes. Now, Dr. Acharya, please.
So with due respect, whatever you said, I think you're mixing two things. Those who usually go to shopping mall frequently, they do not usually shout for the high cost of gas. Second point, if you look at the education policy of Finland and Germany, Finland is the best education policy in the world, and setting up of a private institute is a criminal offense. And yet, Finland has the highest effective outcome of this education out of this education policy. Now, setting these things in a privatized mode, I don't know. I don't think that in a larger context of this society who are reeling under the economic needs, even after these COVID situations, how do they cope up with those exhaustive prices for affording the education?
I have not mixed up the thing. Probably it didn't get me correctly. The thing is that when you make a fee structure, you cannot make it uniform for all. Those who can afford and those who cannot afford. So what I said that those who cannot afford, government should definitely give, and public money should be utilized for that. But those who can give, why they should not give? So this fee structure cannot be uniform. And don't compare with Finland. India population, you know, the huge population. Yeah, and in India, the country is also quite different. The socio-economic structure is also completely different. So let us not compare with other countries what the other countries could have done. You know that there is an undergraduate program, you know, that you have different fee structure, you know. You know, if you belong to this category, SC, ST category, you'll not have to pay a single paisa. Zero fee admission. This is called zero fee admission. Your parents' income is less than 1 lakh or 2 lakh, you will be 100%. You won't have to pay a single paisa. Hello, I'm coming. I'm just concluding. Okay, I'll be joining shortly. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Dr. Prosenjit, are you getting me?
Yes, I'm listening you. Yes, I'm listening you.
Yeah, this is debatable issue. It is a debatable issue, but you know that our times when I studied my BTech, I didn't pay a single paisa. But it's not that I didn't have the capacity to pay, because they had a policy that if you meet certain conditions, you won't have to pay. But my father was a government officer, class 1 officer, so he could have easily afforded it. But there's a general rule that nobody will have to pay, because your scholastic record is good. But I don't think that's a very good idea. That's a very good idea. And you go to those toilets of those universities, institutes, thinking like anything. What's the name? Public toilet. So you have to, because infrastructure, nothing comes in this world without money. Commerce is running the whole show. That you have to understand why we are insisting upon so much. That government will have to, you form the government, we all pay the tax, and from which all the infrastructure government is providing is coming from that only. It's your money, so you will be taxed.
So why don't we claim that same money to invest in the form of education policy?
So that policy, when it comes to implementation and this kind of situation will come, then government will, because initially this kind of policy was not there in IIT. When there's a fee hike, same problem came. When the fee was hiked in IITs and NITs, and then government realized that there are people who cannot afford it, and then they came out with this kind of fee structure rules, which is not uniform. So my point is also, from my experience also, I've seen that there are people, you know, that because of COVID, many people are taking the advantage of the COVID situation. That maybe their parents are working in government institution, they write simply a mail to the director, sir, COVID has affected my family financially, so I cannot pay the fees. Now we have made a rule, you give the document and income certificate of your parents, then we'll consider your application. And many of them are found to be fair. There are students who take the money from their parents and do not deposit it to the institution. These kind of situations are also there. So in this institution also many people have completed their degree because no restriction was there earlier. And now they have a huge backlog of paying the tuition fee in the tune of 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. Now they can't sorry figure, sir, we cannot pay, we don't have this much money. So how this institution, because government is saying that you increase your revenue, and this is one of our revenue of the institution. Otherwise, you cannot, if we get money, then we can give you a better infrastructure. If you go to the private institution kind of infrastructure, they provide you, many of the NITs, they do not stand anywhere in comparison with that. You have seen many private, in US it's very common, private institution, none of the institutions are 100% given support by the government. All support.
Now you are comparing it with the US.
No, I'm comparing because everybody look at the US. Now, because you see that there's no denial of a fact that certain things West have learned earlier, and we are learning, we are following them, and this is probably one of the areas. I'm still open. I'm still open that say, and future will tell you that what kind. You give me a solution. Okay, you pose a problem. You tell me a solution. That okay. So higher education should be free of cost. Okay. So, for example, let us take a policy. The government takes a policy that it will be free of cost. Right? Now this kind of sophisticated instruments you require, say, I'm talking of professional courses, where from these instruments will come.
No, I can understand that.
These people will come.
Sir, I can understand the value of your time. I don't want it to go further because we have another lecture.
But there are two sides. Both the sides are there. Arguments are on both the sides. But one thing I have realized is that if you want a better service and better infrastructure, you'll have to bank on fees to some extent, or revenue generation in other forms also by the institution. Okay. So if there is no other question, I'll take your leave or any.
Yes, sir, you have been not delayed by any, but anyway, the discussion is good, and that is the reason we have made a program like this. So thank you on behalf of our association for spending your valuable time with us. And thank you, Professor Smita Seth, also for chairing this session. Now I would request Professor Kamal Kumar Mondal, is the Secretary of the VUTA Academic Subcommittee, for giving the grand vote of thanks. Professor Mondal, please.
Thank you, Professor Arindam Gupta. Respected President, VUTA, Professor Moti Mongol Pal, the Professor of Mathematics. Respected Vice President, Professor Arindam Gupta. Respected General Secretary, Professor Durga Shankar Roth. Joint Secretary, Professor Keshav Chandra Mondal. Distinguished guests, media representative, participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and privilege to be called upon to process a vote of thanks. I, on behalf of the organizing committee, VUTA, extend our grateful thanks to all the members of VUTA who have come forward and taken the initiative to organize this seminar on National Education Policy 2020, Higher Education, Research and Innovation. Especially thanks to Professor Arindam Gupta for his greater initiative. I am sure that this seminar will contribute towards making our university more dynamic, both teaching, research, as well as innovation, responsive and sensitive to the new education policy 2020. Now that we have come to the end of the seminar, I would like to express my thanks and deep sense of gratitude to all the respected speakers like Professor Bosudha Kamath, Member National Education Policy Draft Committee, former Vice Chancellor, Women's University, and former Joint Director, Professor Swarup Prasad Ghosh is the eminent speaker, Director, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Institute of Asian Studies, Kolkata, and Professor P. Chakraborty, Director, Sipur, and former Director of NEET. Although for sparing their valuable time, in spite of their busy schedule, to be present at the seminar and sharing with us their knowledge on the national education policy. My sincere thanks to Professor Indranil Acharya, Dr. Abhijit Sinha, Professor Joyjit Ghosh, Dr. Prosenjit Acharya, Professor Devashish Mondal, Dr. Surojit Ghosh, and Professor Sumita Seth, and technical support by Professor Prabhas Kumar Singh. My sincere thanks are also due to all the members of present over here and have been very helpful throughout in this endeavor by way of correspondence. Thank you all this much needed cooperation. My best wishes to all of you. I thank you all for your attention. Thanks for attending. And I think also my observation that this is the first time of our university, Vidyasagar University Teachers Association, hosted such a national type of debate type of seminar, because national policy, education policy too much related with our day life. So that's why being a part of VUTA member, I congratulate VUTA attitude and more academician. Thank you and thanks to all. Good evening to all of you.
Professor Prabhas Singh may end today's meeting, and thank you everyone for joining. Okay.
আচ্ছা প্রভাস, এটা করা হবে না, লিংক দেওয়া হবে তোমার কি বলে ফিডব্যাক লিংক কি দেবে, সার্টিফিকেট তো ইস্যু করতে হবে। প্রভাস
সবাইকে মেলে দিয়ে দাও,
আমরাও ফিডব্যাক দেবে, তাদের একটা সার্টিফিকেট দিয়ে দিও।
থ্যাংক ইউ মধুদা, লিডার।
থ্যাংক ইউ
অরিন্দম বাবু, লিডার। থ্যাংক ইউ ফর অর্গানাইজিং।
রাজকুমার বাবু।